Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Inside the Mix podcast. If you are a new listener, thank you for joining, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. Now, in this episode, it is an episode of the Producer's Pub. I wish I had some sort of fanfare. Well, I do with Riverside, but it's a bit of a faff to get it going. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Tim. So maybe next time we'll just do it like all of us do it at the same time, like a flash mob sort of thing. Anyway, so it's an episode of the Producer's Pub. So if you're a new listener and you're unfamiliar with the concept, basically each artist, so of which there are 6, including myself, will play 30 seconds of a work in progress, and then we just basically talk about it, offer any advice or any thoughts on that particular song. So the artists I've got with me today, I've got Aisle 9, I've got Sub Neon, I've got Blockhaus, THALREX and Ghost Georgie. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see them waving. This is live on YouTube. It is live, yeah, I'm just checking now, and it should be live in Facebook, or rather on Facebook as well, although that one doesn't go automatic. It's a bit of a pain. There we go. So, yeah, these do go live. Last episode I did say Twitch, but I in the past 4 weeks I've done nothing with Twitch, so I haven't bothered to run it on this one. Anyway, I digress. So the first music we have up today is Sub Neon. So Sub Neon, do you want to give us a quick run through of what we're going to be listening to today?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is either going to be my 7th or 8th release. I haven't quite decided yet. It depends how much I can get done to finish it, to be honest. It's called Phoenix. And it's kind of a continuation of my one-man mission to make an absolute mess of synthwave as a genre. The sequence is it's essentially a kind of a change in the second verse leading into a kind of a chorus. So yeah, I'll be interested to hear what people think.
Excellent. Okay, without further ado, let's give it a go. Very nice, cool, mate. My initial thoughts are when it goes into that breakdown, I want to hear like less going on, because for me it's kind of like if you imagine a graph, it's kind of going like that all the way across. Maybe it could go like that and then duck out. Some instruments come out and then come back in again, just to have a bit of night and day. That's my initial thought when it comes to that. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. It feels like there's lots of really excellent things going on in it. But it needs sort of, some light and shade, some sort of. So at that bit, it feels like it wants to open up and have more space, perhaps. Especially with the sort of half-time sort of feel or whatever, and then go. Yeah, but I really like it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Just a little bit less in there. What I did like just towards the end of that excerpt there, I thought it was about to kick in, but I think the breakdown was actually going to keep going for a little bit longer, so that took me by surprise. I was like, oh right, it's not coming back in yet. And yeah, I thought that was cool. I liked it a bit.
Yeah, it's something I've been struggling with. I've been obviously working with a lot of bass. Not obviously, because I've only met some of you for the first time today. I work with a lot of bass, and starting off with one layer, then another layer, then another layer, and then you squeeze that down with a bit of compression, then put some saturation in, and then you get this wall of sound. And then I think, wow, I need some synths and some pads and something in there as well. And then all of a sudden it's just so maybe. I could drop some stuff out. It's alien to me. I've said that before in this podcast. Can't take things out. I just keep putting stuff in. So yeah. I've got an idea what I can take out there. Yeah. So maybe return track. Do you think return track might help to dial down some of the effects? Do you think?
Have you not got your time?
Do you mean like
time-based stuff on sends already? You're not using them on sends?
No. No, it's all plugged. So I'm giving the same response as the last. Don't be silly. I'm not doing
You know
any
the
kind of
answer,
forensic
don't you?
kind of production here. Yeah, I do. But it's easier to just leave them on the synth and carry on to the next preset.
Yeah, but the thing that
Then
you
it-
don't get then is the ability to sort of, when you've got everything on sort of, well, time-based stuff like delay and reverb on sends and returns, then you can EQ those returns a little bit. You can do stuff to the returns, and also you tend to end up with less sort of multiple sort of slightly variant reverbs on the track. Say you've got 2 or 3 reverbs, a couple of delays. Does a track need more than that? And actually, when you end up like put it on every single channel or whatever, I think you tend to get a lot more of a smearing kind of effect of just like different sort of, well, unless you copy exactly the same thing onto everything. But it's a lot easier to. Also, I find it a lot easier to go like, oh, do you know what? Maybe this track is just a little bit too wet, and just dropping it a fraction, and all you need to do is drop the return rather than go through every single thing. So it gives you a lot more. You can add compression, you can add saturation to the the return. You can do a lot on that which can be really good actually. So I'm a fan. Although I do it. I do put them on inserts too, so there we go. I do it sometimes. I just get lazy,
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, now I know how to use return channels. I do need to have the discipline to be able to set that up in the first instance. But when you're in composition mode, you're just throwing stuff in and seeing what works. But
I thought it was great to hear the sample of your track. I really like the cinematic feel, and I agree with Aisle 9. It's kind of varying those little things track to track, like in the EQ, kind of playing with some stuff. So to get a little bit more of a spread with when there's frequencies that are similar among the different synth groups, and just playing with blends, like not overlapping so much the same. Kind of to echo what you were saying. Aisle 9, the verbs kind of just those slight tweaks can create more separation, and I run into that a lot too. It's like when you're just inspired and you're in the zone, you're throwing it down, because like on my track it's kind of the same. You just kind of go with what inspires you, but then honing that in, I think it's going to give more separation. But I think it's great so far.
Awesome.
Here's a quick thought. Sub Neon. When you set up your songwriting, do you work from a template? Do you have like your instruments set up and then your auxiliary sends already there and then dive in, or are you just literally a blank canvas and then you start writing?
You would be surprised to learn the answer is no. So I'm getting there. I'm building it slowly. I've kind of got there with my drum rack, so that is kind of a template now. I've just got there with some of the basses that I use on a consistent basis. I've got my utility and gain knobs and things like that in there. But not the return tracks. So that's definitely something I need to look at.
Yeah, what I would do next time your songwriting is, before you do anything, just set up a short, medium, long reverb and one delay, and then just use those. You might not even need all 3 reverbs. But I totally echo what R9 and Ghost Georgie said there. With those build up of reverbs, you can imagine a mushroom cloud of just like that over time. How many bass layers have you got going on in that one?
How many do you think?
I'm going to say you're going to be more conservative this time. I'm going to say 5.
Okay. So I've got 2 in the first sequence.
In that breakdown, is there more?
That stabby bass and I've got 3 in the second in the halftime section. Yeah, so I found the right combination of presets that create the sound I wanted, instead of just piling it all on top of each other like I normally do.
Are these the same line but spread across different patches? Are they playing the same line? Yeah. So that's
mostly. Sometimes it's an octave up, or sometimes there's a little bit of variation. It depends on the combination.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Excellent.
I really liked it. Got your signature sound, and you know what I think about it. So Big fan. Really excited to see how it sounds when it's done. That's all I can say.
Mate.
Yeah, I think your output is something to behold. The amount you're putting out, sort of like that, how you're doing it, it's brilliant. And your social media posts as well, and the effort you're putting in there. Your actual videos are amazing. How long does it take you to put those videos together?
It depends, really. If it's, I mean, I put a quick sample of a track out yesterday. It took 20 minutes dragging some videos down from Pexels or Pixabay and then throwing them into Premiere Rush, chuck the track in, and away you go. If it's a release, then it'll take a little bit longer. But yeah, thank you. No, I've got a bit of a work ethic at the minute. I've set myself a challenge, I think I've mentioned before, to try and get one track a month out. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to sustain it for the full year, but we'll see how it goes.
Fantastic.
Burn out before I hit that, I reckon, but I'll keep trying.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm not the only one who uses Pexels. I rinse that for posts and for images. Yeah, absolutely rinse it and unsplash as well. Thank you very much, Subneon. So next is Blockhaus. If you could give us a quick run through of what we can expect.
Yeah, so this is a track called Sleepless in Glasgow, inspired by some of the sort of ambient Alex Patterson Orb type stuff that I used to listen to back in my student days in a Glasgow flat when I couldn't get to sleep. So if this clip sends you to sleep, then the track is doing its job. It's far more minimal than Subneon's effort, so I might have some advice to chuck some stuff in here, because it's sort of gone for a really minimal sort of ambient techno type feel. But
cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just before we play it, Neon Highway, Carl, is in the YouTube chat. He says, Subneon has carved out a signature sound, inspiring bass lines. So shout out to Carl. He is back on the podcast in July.
Love you, Carl. 5 is in the post.
Anyway, that's
big
fantastic. Let's play this one by... Yes, yeah, indeed. Yeah, he's going to be a welcome addition when he comes back in July. It's been a while. So here we go. This is Blockhaus. Cool, mate. Fantastic. Thank you. My initial thoughts were, in a minute, I'll get back to this bit. With your pads and the kick, for me, this comes from like the EDM side of things, maybe some side chaining with the pads, just add a bit of movement there. But that tail on that kick, what sample are you using for that kick drum? That's quite an interesting, it's got like a sort of sound after it. That's really badly done.
You know what? It's just one of the GarageBand basic drum kits. That's all it is, yeah.
Yeah,
this song was
tail.
Yeah, it's completely created from GarageBand stuff.
Solely in GarageBand.
Yeah.
Fair play. I think GarageBand's a powerful DAW. Obviously, Logic is the bigger brother, but it's a fantastic DAW. I've heard some great things come out of that. No, brilliant. That was my initial thought, was just a bit of movement on the pads with some side chaining. But I'll open it up to the floor, as it were.
I assume bass appears at some point, does it? Because not in the bit we were listening to.
It will do. I'm going to come up with some sort of form of bass line, but again, nothing too Subneon style.
Yeah, because we've gone from Subneon's 3 bass lines, 5 bass lines, whatever, to no bass line. It's kind of like, you know. And I know some of that Orb stuff because I loved it a lot. I listened to a lot of that kind of sort of thing. It was a kind of big sort of influence, the 90s stuff for me, when I first really got listening to, you know, electronic music in many ways. But like, you know, I mean, they often do sort of hold back on those kind of things, and it's very minimal. But then some ambient sounds as well, often like like found sounds and speech and all kinds of other things come in, and it's kind of really hard to do that minimal thing and not to end up with not enough interest in something, and to find that it's just become a bit dull. Oh, here comes our dog. Hello. But like so I think at the end of the day, it just like with a few additions like that, it's that sort of special little moments, like little sounds come in, or just just like an effect or something, or regenerative delay on a sound or something, which is probably a bit hard in GarageBand, but that sort of thing can be what they use a lot. They would play around with that kind of like like Towers of Dub and all that kind of sort of stuff, like amazing sort of stuff the Orb would do, where they just play around with the sounds they've got, quite a minimal palette, but they'd make light and shade and colours out of it. And I think it needs that to sort of take it to another level, perhaps, because it sounded good. I think the idea is good. Yeah,
cheers.
I agree with Mark. It's a nice foundation, but I think it will need some sidechain compression to bring out the pad, and but I really like what I heard. Perhaps some. I think what could be nice would be throwing on some hi-hats to kind of. I'm not that familiar with this kind of genre, but I think it could sound great with some hi-hats playing on the offbeat or something.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.
It's got a really cool vibe so far, and it'll be really cool to hear if you get like maybe a hard lead on there over top and have some kind of groove going, or maybe some arpeggiations, even to kind of have some brightness kind of on top of some of those softer sounds that you have going, and those those layers that you have currently at the forefront. So looking forward to hearing more.
Yeah, thanks.
I haven't got too much more to add than what everyone else has said, to be honest. I really like the vibe of it. I think that I like the tension that sits behind it. What are your plans for, or have you got any idea as to how you would see it evolve
as
it progresses?
Yeah, so I've played about with so that initial sort of like lead synth. I've played about with repeating that, but with a couple of different patches, and I haven't found the right sound for it yet. I did have a sort of choir sample going on, but that didn't work really well. So I wanted to get something I can build up and find a good sort of like ambient bass sound as well, to get a bass line in there. And I never wanted to really hit a proper crescendo. I wanted it to stay minimal and laid back, but I do want it to build. I think it'll probably end up being quite a long track, sort of like build gradually over the course of it. Could end up with a 10-minute epic, but yeah, it's got kind of it reminds me a little bit of Satan by Orbital, a little bit, and I mean that starts off really slow, and then it's got this really rhythmic repeating bass line that kind of sucks you in, and then they do an awful lot in terms of bringing effects in and taking them out again, and then bringing something else in, just as R9 was saying, just to keep that energy and keep the interest going. But I really like the foundations of what you've done so far. Good job. Yeah, nice one. Thanks.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I think if you're going to do a long song, like you say, with 4 minutes plus, then you're definitely going to need to do something along the lines of like Neon Highway. Because I was just looking at YouTube. Sub Neon and R9 was saying, but no, brilliant stuff.
Yeah,
I love
that's great advice. Thanks, guys.
Using GarageBand as well. I love that. I like hearing when people are creating. I remember there was a podcast episode I did, probably much like right back near the beginning, and I was chatting to an artist, and they created all their music on an iPad. You would never know. It's quite impressive. So it's always interesting to hear these stories. Thank you very much, Blockhaus. THALREX, what have we got coming up?
Well, so this is a result of yet another Saturday drinking thing. You know how it is.
It doesn't sound like you, THALREX.
So I don't really know how to describe this thing. It's kind of like a disco synthwave fusion. It's the project file is just called Disco 150 WTF.
Brilliant. I'd say now you've mentioned disco and synthwave, you've piqued my interest.
I think you should keep the title. I think that should be the title.
Right, here we go. Aceman, I tell you what, you've got like snares and kick drums down. I gotta say there's a lot of punch, there's a lot of presence, a lot of power there. My initial thought was, as soon as it kicked in, I think this is my unconscious bias when you said disco. I'd love to hear vocals on that, like Boney M or like something like that. Like I think like something along those. That's easier said than done. It's a lot easy. It's easy for me to say. Go and find a singer similar to that of Boney M or Earth, Wind and Fire. But I would love to hear some vocal on that, like that on there. That would be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Can you do Boney M vocals, Mark?
Can I? I don't think I can. Yeah. I'm tempted with trying vocals at some point. I could do like a power metal scream. That's about as far as I can get. I don't know how I can do that, but I can do it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to fit.
No, I don't think that's going to help.
Could be an interesting combo.
Yeah.
Maybe
but that was
Barry White.
My initial thoughts.
Yeah, I really loved it. Actually, because it just got my head bouncing. I got a groove straight away, and that groove, I'm just starting to hear what's coming next because the groove is carrying me along, and it's sparse, but it's slightly sort of almost, it's got disco, it's almost got a New Ordery kind of thing as well with the percussion and stuff, like reminds me of some of that 80s sort of percussion kind of thing. But like, I hadn't thought of Boney M, but like I could hear like sort of, maybe slightly more new wavy kind of vocals as well on it. But I don't know that it needs vocals. It could just have, great hooky melody lines as well. But like, sort of slightly that sort of a Blue Monday thing, although it's much more positive and happy. It's much more up, but it's still got that kind of thing that those tracks have. So, I'm a bit. It's got a bit of a synth pop disco vibe, but I'm a fan. Yeah, I like it.
Mm.
Yeah, as soon as I heard the bass line, I just like sat up and took it. I was like, oh yes, I'm liking this. I felt like I was playing a computer game. Like maybe I was like a robber that was like on the run from somebody. I got an impression of like this computer game character running down the street, and you've got like little bits of cowbell coming in, like a lot of different stuff going on. But I was disappointed that it was only 30 seconds because I was like, I want to hear more. So looking forward to hearing the finished article.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, it was super rad. Definitely really grooving, and like Isle 9 said, gets you like bopping your head. I'd love to hear just a little more beef on the low end, like boost up that bass line and stuff, and it's all these things. It's obviously it's in production, it's in its progress stage. So, but I'm sure you're gonna make a lot of adjustments as time goes on. But yeah, I think we're off to a great start. So it's a really fun track.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a YouTube comment on this, THALREX. This is from Midnight Void. He says, "Big fan of laser sounds. It was a bop."
Yeah,
bop.
There you go.
That's the right word.
Yeah,
I thought it was awesome. I mean, I think you sent this to me a little while ago, THALREX, and it's one of those tracks that you just can't not smile at when it starts playing. I'd agree with all the comments. I wonder where you got that kind of brassy synth that comes in. Maybe you could stretch it out a little bit longer before that comes in. I don't know. It feels like it gets to that crescendo a little bit too quickly. But I would really like vocals on that. I can definitely hear that. I imagined, rather than it being like a robber running down the street, it was in the 80s, double-breasted suit with one of those big goddamn phones, strutting down to go have a meeting and close a deal kind of thing. It was just like, yeah, I like the energy a lot. I can't wait to hear what it ends up like.
Thank you.
For sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, THALREX. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more from that one. It's I know you posted that video and I didn't respond in the Facebook community group, but it is a polar opposite to that other project that you're working on. I don't know if anyone has seen that, but if you go into the Facebook group for the podcast, you'll see THALREX has posted a work in progress in there, and the two are polar. It's so cool to see such a wide variety of sort of music that you're putting out. And yeah, it's a lot different, man. I like that other one. It's like, yeah, it's. I won't spoil it. Go and have a listen, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you, THALREX. So next up is ghostgeorgie. What can we expect?
Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. So this is just a short clip from my upcoming record that I'm working on. I haven't. I just finished another release that came out the other day, but as far as the stuff that I have in progress, I haven't recorded any of the drum tracks yet, so keep that in mind. It's really just backing synths and vocals. It's kind of dreamy, drippy kind of stuff, very heavy on the vocals, and kind of like dreamy synth sounds. But I'm gonna get when I get the drums tracked, and I'm gonna do a combo of pads and live drums. It's going to be totally different, so just keep in mind that it's very early in the process, so like vocal dream synth pop.
Fantastic. Here we go. Let's give it a go. Cool, fantastic, thank you. Yeah, I can see what you mean by the drums and percussion element of it needing to come in. My initial thought was, I can't remember actually, listen, I know it was only 30 seconds ago, it says a lot about my memory, but at the beginning, with those synth pads, my initial, I mean, this is what I generally do, and it's not necessarily the right way to do it, but maybe like filter automation, so you could have like I always get it around the wrong way, it's the low pass, or is it the high cut?
The low pass opening up, so shut off a bit and opening up.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I always get it around the wrong way, and then just gradually open up as it comes in. That was my initial thought, and obviously, yeah, you mentioned about percussion and whatnot. Yeah. Thoughts, folks?
Nice
love
piano.
The processing on the vocal.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, THALREX. Yeah, I like the piano. The piano is. I mean, there's some lovely chords and sort of arpeggios and things that you were playing, like as well. Sort of it very musical sounding. I think it's that would be my only sort of wonder is like electronic music. It's kind of that difference between, and I suppose it's the pop element. Whether you go more pop on it and head that to sort of more sort of ballady pop kind of vibe, or whether you kind of make it a little bit more alternative and electronic and like synthetic sounding. And the piano's obviously got that kind of acoustic piano kind of vibe, and then you've got the synths and the vocals, but the vocals have got a lovely dreamy effect on them. So I kind of wondered where it was going, because like although they do work together, I'm just sort of like it will change with the percussion. I mean, there are many tracks that sort of synth tracks that do have kind of acoustic kind of sounding piano on them, but I wondered if like you might change that a little bit when you put the whole thing together. But
definitely. Like there's more tracks that I want to record, and my goal is to kind of mesh those elements together, like have some acoustic elements. Like there's a nice piano that I got to track on at my buddy's studio that I really love the sound of. It's a Mason and Hamlin, and so I want to have that kind of in the background, but I want to create some I want to use some pads and stuff to put that more in the background. And so like the whole kind of feel of the track is going to change when I have the rest of the synth groups recorded and the drums, to kind of bring it, like you were saying, a little bit more in an alternative kind of direction. I just kind of wanted to mesh some of those genre elements together.
You're going to put acoustic sounding drums, live drums on it. Is that the vibe? Did you say, or electronic?
Yeah, I
want
to get. I'm gonna do some electronic percussion, and then also get a drummer to do some live stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Just a quick one, folks. There's another comment this time on YouTube. I say this time, it was last time. This is from Neon Highway, who says, "Love that descending phrase that repeats with everything swirling above it." There we go. Bit of feedback there from Neon Highway. Fantastic. Any other thoughts, folks?
Yeah, I really liked the sort of the musicality of that song. I think I really enjoyed the piano, and I think it would work well if at least some of the track didn't have any percussion. Just lets the piano sort of like stand by itself. It could feel sort of, I don't know which part of the song this is going to be, but I could feel it. Yeah, it would work if like the percussion does come in, and then maybe even if you've got a sort of towards the end the piano goes solo again. Because I think that was my favourite part of the song. So I'd like to hear that sort of being allowed to stand out.
Right on. That's good.
Is it going to have like sort of verse and sorry? Is it going to have a verse and chorus kind of vocal type thing on it as well? Is it going to be more sort of embedded vocals, like it is, like almost instruments, with the way that the vocals being used to sort of?
It has a refrain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a refrain. It'll kind of it'll kind of repeat to. Like this particular section was actually from like the very end of the track. So
cool.
Yeah, it'll have kind of like a verse refrain kind of style.
Excellent.
Kind of stole my question there, actually.
Did I? Sorry, man. Sorry.
So I've got to think of another one really quickly. Then, I mean, I really love what you've done with the vocals. I mean, I'm in awe. I'm trying to earn some stripes, recording and mixing vocals, and failing miserably at the minute. It'd be really interesting to know what your vocal chain looks like to get that kind of really nice blend that you've got going on there.
Yeah. So, with the harmonies, like I start with, so with my EQ, I run everything through Pro Tools. So I use like the 7-band EQ in Pro Tools, and I just kind of go through and I try to find, bring some air and life to the tracks, and kind of vary it a little bit, and then I go through, and there's some automation on the like on the volume, because there's some parts where I like want it to swell a little bit more with the harmonies than others, and so I go through and I just and I go through the automation, and I also in clips I'll bring the gain up and down just to kind of like keep that blend going, and I just by ear kind of bring the blend together, and then I take some I use Deverb usually just for the lead vocal, and then I'll use Studio Verb, also just another built into Pro Tools plugin for some of the background vocals, but I like to vary the verbs on there to give it like a little bit more texture, and obviously it's still super early, so I'm kind of honing it in, like it's super rough mix, but that's kind of I usually just have I've got verb, a little bit of delay, I've got the EQ running, and that's at the moment, and then later I'm going to come in and add more plugins, but that's all I've got at the moment there.
Well, whatever you've done, it sounds awesome so far.
Fantastic. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Ghost Georgie. Fantastic. It's a great, as always is, I find, with the producers pub. I was going to call it the producers podcast then. I'm rebranding it again. It's always fantastic music, and it's great. So, penultimate, aisle 9. What have we got coming up?
Right. I think we've got a track that I've been umming and ahhing about the title, but it's suddenly gone to Eternal Overdrive, is what it's called. It's a fairly sort of synthwave kind of track, I guess. Instrumental at the moment. I don't plan on putting vocals on this one. I can hear the visible sigh of relief. No, it's got like it's got a sort of kind of 3 three parts to it, I think, maybe, but like there's definite half time going on over the chorus bit, which has got this sort of synth line, which is kind of quite, important to the track, and which is sort of, but it's actually a synth line that with distortion on it, so it's hence the overdrive kind of concept, and it sort of sounds like kind of a guitar-y sort of line in a way, but actually now you won't hear it in this excerpt, but like at the end of the track, there is a lot of guitar that has suddenly appeared. It was not on their Neon, Sub-Neon or Neon Highway heard a version earlier this week, which had no guitar on it, but there may be a bit of a sort of a large solo appearing at the end of the track. But like, up until that point, it's all, fairly sort of synthwave. But, it's just one of those tracks that happen quite quickly as well. But like, it's I don't know, I did a really nice kind of quite clean sort of mix the other day. Then I've added some ideas today. I don't think the mix is sounding as clean as it was, because a bit like, Sub-Neon said, when you're kind of working quickly and just adding things, you're not thinking so much about the mixing, you're just being creative. So I think there's probably some mixing to go, but it's interesting, I think. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm all about guitar at the moment, so I know you've sent me the full whack, so I'm gonna have a listen later. I'm looking forward to hearing the guitar.
Yeah.
For the audience listening, Tim's actually done guitar on one of my songs that I'm gonna be releasing, and the Dave Gilmour of Watch It is fantastic stuff, man. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Let's go. So it's from 18 seconds, isn't it? I've got to make sure I get this right.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. It's not that precise.
I'm gonna do 18 on here because, and then try and see it. Right, I'm dragging it. There we go. Cool, mate. I totally lost track of time then, so I think it went over 30 seconds. I really like that, man. I love that intro part. My initial thoughts were, you've got those. I'm actually kind of glad I played it for a bit longer, but there were some bells towards the end there, and my initial thoughts are, I'm not entirely sure the bells fit. They kind of got like a bit of a Christmas vibe to them, I thought.
Bells?
I don't know what anyone else thinks.
What, are you thinking the sort of the kind of
I don't know.
Sleigh bells.
Percussion or
the sleigh bells.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, the percussion.
Probably just okay.
That was my initial. I love it though. I think the intro sounds really, really cool. It's got like, I can hear where the guitar. I don't know what the guitar's going to sound like at the end because I haven't heard it yet, but I can hear how guitar could fit on it. But I think it sounds really good, mate. That was my initial thought with just the sleigh bells. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, they're
about.
Definitely not meant to be sleigh bells. So yeah. Yeah. It might be. Well, A, it might be levels, and B, it might be sort of sound choices or whatever on the percussion. Yeah, something. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like cowbells and all kinds of things can start to sound. You can put it up into the higher sort of things. I've got some hats doing some interesting stuff as well, which it can all start to end up to that kind of overly tinkly layer at the top, can't it? Yeah.
The percussion in the first sort of from 18 seconds was really, really cool. A really cool percussion.
It's when it goes into the next.
I think THALREX was going to.
Yeah. I really like those kind of metallic percussion sounds you had in the intro. I don't know what kind of instrument is that, but it sounds really good.
Yeah, all kinds of weird things ended up in there because like there is actually a kick drum that's been really heavily filtered and like sort of like kind of delayed and stuff, which has turned into like a slightly resonant percussion instrument in there. So it doesn't sound like a kick drum anymore, but like, which is weird. But yeah, that just happened. It got pitched
Sounds
as
really
well.
cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds super rad. And I liked those kind of shimmery metallic percussion sounds too, including in the beginning. It's always interesting what pulls everybody's ear, different stuff. But yeah, it's really grooving. I kind of lost track of time too, listening to it. So I'm looking forward to hearing what other elements you're going to add. What do you kind of think is the next thing that you're going to lay down for this track?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much scapes out really as a whole track. So I think I've got the whole track. It kind of ebbs and flows between the different parts, and parts are coming in and out, and then as a guitar bit that's now at the end. I think there may be a little bit of guitar needing to come in a few earlier parts of the track to sort of balance up the guitar coming in at the end. But I'm on that point as well where I think I could overdo the track, and I don't want to do that, and I'm worried that I might do. A few other little bits that are in there, like there's some tom fills in there at the moment, like with filtering on them, so that the filter changes as the tom fill goes. So they sound from like they kind of can sound like, well, you might sound like sleigh bells, because like when they're filtered out, they've got no bass in them, so they just sound like kind of a percussive instrument. And then as they filter down, you actually hear the bass in the tom. So that kind of thing I'm going to play with a little bit more in there, I think. And I'll de-Christmas it, I think.
I couldn't hear any Christmas in that.
No, I couldn't really. But
I tell you what, I mean, we've talked about it before. I love it. I mean, the low end is just so solid, and we also talked about. I'm knocking my mixing desk over there. Sorry. The pads, and there's various degree of sort of side chain going on in there. Have you had any thoughts about what your end result's going to look like with that?
Yeah, I've actually just today gone through all the pads, because I think Neon Highway mentioned some stuff about the pads, and that was a comment that I think they got, like, because there's already some sort of pumping going on in the pads, the side chaining, although it's not actually done by side chain, it's done by a plugin, but like, a sort of envelope sort of plugin. But like, I think later on in the track, it was getting a bit irritating. It kind of was too much. The pads were interfering a bit too much. So I've kind of gone through the whole track putting in more sort of filtering on the pads, so that they kind of, and volume filtering, filtering and the resonance and the volume, and also adjusting the depth of that side chaining thing, whether it's on or it's off, or how much you hear of it. But I have wondered in one section of changing the speed of that as well, because we were saying about sort of more offbeaty kind of feel. So it's on one pattern at the moment, but it might be interesting to try it on another pattern at another point. So that kind of thing, like, so there's subtle changes, but just to make sure when you've got like bass, kick, percussion, and you don't want to have like, the pads sort of getting in the way and just becoming annoying, kind of thing. So it's trying to, but equally they give a lot of vibes. So I find like if you take your pads out, it's just like, oh yes, it's quite dull, isn't it? So you don't really want to do that, but but it's controlling them, I guess, controlling them in the mix, making them interesting without being irritating.
Yeah,
that's my main mission in life: being interesting without being irritating.
There's a couple comments on YouTube. So Neon Highway says IL9's demos always sound better than my finished masters, and then Midnight Void says Neon Highway same. So there we go. Brilliant.
Yeah, that was a comment I was going to make. Actually, I was sitting there thinking, like, God, how does it sound this good already? If this is a demo. So yeah, your production skills are obviously on point. I really liked the descending chord pattern at the start. That was really cool. It's like leading us in nicely. I was like, this is going to go somewhere, and then the beat kicked in a bit firmer. So yeah, I'm liking the sound of it so far. Can see where it goes?
Yeah, I think I always try and work with. I mean, I think you're quite similar, aren't you, Mark? I think from what we've said, but like, I don't know. I don't know what everyone else would say, but I tend to sort of try not to end up with an enormous mixing job at the other end, but sort of work as I go, so that I'm making sure that the mix is constantly, you know, in reasonable balance as it goes along. And so hopefully at the end of it all, it's not like, right now I'm going to do the mix with all these sounds that don't work and all these things that are difficult and all, you know, but like the mix is going to be just finessing some bits. Having said that, you know, it can still go wrong at that point. That's the trouble. And then I can end up, bizarrely enough, doing 25 mixes when I just, and returning back sometimes to mix that I just ran off like 2 or 3 before I started featuring and making it good. And like then I was like, oh, why did I bother doing that? It was fine. I should have just left it. So I can overwork things, I think, and have to go back. But you know, yeah, but hopefully not. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I don't sort of. I've moved away from mixing as I go. I hate to say it because I think it's a term that's thrown around way too much. In gain stage, I think it's thrown around a lot and it's used in various different contexts where it's not necessarily gain staging is what's happening. But I just, much like you, I make sure there's like a balance. I think that's a better way of putting it. Yeah. As I'm creating, I try and get a balance, and that way, then when it comes to actually mixing, the rough balance is there, and then it's a case of just subtle tweaks. So yeah, totally, man. It just makes it, and you get an idea then, like you say, of whether it's going to work with the sounds that you have, whether they make sense or not. But no, as always, mate, I love listening to your new tracks when they come out. When you send me across demos, when I eventually get round to it, I love it. I can't wait to listen to the guitar as well. yeah, busy times. Folks, this is thank you, Tim. This is moving on to mine now. So this is something that I quickly ran off about 20 minutes before I came online here, and it's something that I started this week, and I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go or whether or not I'm going to use it. And it's probably about an hour's worth of work, and I will preface this with it's got a horrible snare in the build up, and just before this episode I was going through samples. I was like, I've got to get rid of it, and then I was just like, sod it, I'll just chuck it in there.
Is this your son anger?
When you listen to it, you'll see what I mean. For me, it's a biscuit tin. It's a placeholder is what I'm going with. It's a placeholder, and it's kind of like a house ish type of track, because the EP that I'm working on is primarily sort of synth pop with a darker edge with some guitars and stuff, and this is I'm moving away from it with this song. And then I've got another song as well which I'm working with Kira Waves, actually, who's doing vocals for, which is a trap wave, I guess we call it, which is going to be really interesting. The demos he sent across to me, he's gone wild. That dude goes wild with vocals, man. It sounds awesome. But yeah, wait till you hear it. It sounds great. But anyway, I digress. So I'm going to play this, and there's a really weird vocal sample at the end, which I forgot to get rid of. But I'm going to play it anyway. Here we go. That's it, and there we are. Yeah, that is it. Thoughts, folks. Should I continue with it? Where should I go with it? It's basically, I think it's the number one is it worth continuing with? Because it was kind of like an hour's worth of work.
I really liked it. I can see a lot of cool directions you could go with the sound. Maybe just dropping out everything, just keeping the bass and playing it, expanding the filter, making it wide, and then back to the beat, that kind of vibe.
I think you just want to get a massive sound system, go on top of a hill, blast it out all night, and just take a lot of ecstasy, really. That's it.
It's got that vibe. I'm glad THALREX mentioned that, though, because yeah, there's a section before that where it all drops out and it is just bass. And I was choosing which part to put in. So that's great that you mentioned that, because there is a section where it does that beforehand.
Cool.
And it's got like and then it comes in with just a kick drum and then it drops out again and various bits and pieces. But yeah, totally, Tim. It's got that it's got
90s
that sort of
rave thing.
dropping.
You're going to be making shapes, aren't you? Big house, little house, cardboard box. It's. But I love it. I mean, I was kind of a big fan of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I like it. I love the sped up vocal, sort of thing, like that kind of vocal sample thing. Like you could go a bit more like who was it who did the Smart E's and that kind of stuff, Joey Beltrain, and like this kind of like sort of more like that kind of really sped up kind of sort of stuff like that they'd put in there, and they'd do kind of some really lo-fi sample bits in there would be quite interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like sort of
that's cool,
sampled sort
like
of stabs and things like that, or were a real 90s thing, orchestral stabs, or like things that were just sampled in that kind of way and then just played on a key. So I think you could kind of make it kind of quite cool, and bring it a little bit up to date, but at the same time throw in a lot of that 90s sort of like flavour, and it'd be cool.
Yeah, I like the orchestral stabs. I like that, and the lo-fi sounds. I think that's when I was thinking about it. I was like, where shall I take this? And I was kind of like, I was listening to modern music and modern pop music, and like house and stuff, and I was thinking, trying to take influence from that, but I hadn't thought about going further back. So that's cool. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you've got a good house bass line there. So I would definitely stick with that and build with it. I think I'm a big fan of like 90s dance music as well. I think that would sound great with a big sort of like rave diva vocal over it.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, house.
Yeah, a vocal would be cool. It's. I think it's definitely worth continuing with. I liked the vocal sample. I thought that was fun. It would be cool to hear maybe like a Dirty Roads with some distortion on it or something at some point. Because it's definitely got like a funky feel. So you can explore that, and seconded and thirded perhaps on the vocals. It'd be cool to hear some interesting vocalization, just like just some spread out stuff that comes in and out like nothing the whole time.
You have a willing vocalist. Georgie, I think you just volunteered. It sounded good.
I'll send you the demo. I think I've got a full
That'd
demo.
Be wicked.
I think there is one.
Right on.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
I like that Dirty Roads idea. That's good.
This is great.
Mark, what do you think? I mean, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. Is it something that you want to continue with? Do you?
Yeah. I think when I was making it, when I first started it, I was kind of laughing when I was making it, because it was kind of like it was almost like a parody when I was making it of, if that makes sense. And then the more I made it, I was like, and then I do this thing where I bounce it and render it, and then I'll go to the toilet, and then I'll come back, and then I'll listen to it. And then when I did that, I was like, actually, it sounds all right. It sounds pretty good. And there's a couple other songs that I've got that are leaning in that direction. I can't remember. I don't think I've played any of them on here. No, I don't think I have. There's a couple of other songs that are leaning in that direction, so I might just put together like a 4-track EP after the one I'm doing now, of like this sort of music. And then I think it's one of those ones where I think it could be quite enjoyable to make, because I can just throw various bits and pieces in there like you guys have mentioned. But yeah, I didn't know. For me, it was a case of, am I laughing at it because it's probably not worth pursuing because it's a bit weird, and it's not weird, but it's not quite. But no, this is great affirmation that it's something worth pursuing. So yeah, thank you. Yeah. That's a very long-winded answer to your question.
That's all right. Make an EP out of it, and then we can have you on the cover in a Kappa tracksuit, and that'll be absolutely amazing.
Adidas poppers, mate, not Kappa tracksuit. Adidas poppers, yeah, and a big the bomber jacket as well.
I think that thing with that weird sort of stuff when you go off like on one of these things and you go like, is this a good idea or not? Is I think it's always like, do you take it the whole hog and like make it almost like a parody and do that kind of thing, and like and make it just like or do you somehow take that kind of thing and bring it into now and make it cool? and it's
Yeah.
and that's a challenge, isn't it? Because it's a challenge to sort of, but I don't know, maybe just get the tracksuit.
What I'll do is every time I'm writing it, I'll make sure I'm wearing a tracksuit as I do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some like strobe lights and then some glow sticks, and I'll just be chewing my face off as I do it, and then just see what I come up with. Disclaimer, audience listening: I don't condone doing drugs, and neither do I do them. So I'm just going to throw that out there because it's a varied audience. But yeah, no, thank you everyone. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So that we've come toward the end. I'm just going to quickly check YouTube to see if there's anything on there. So Neon Highway says he says Olzo in there. I don't know if he means Olzo.
Do you mean Mr. Wuzzo?
I think he might mean. I think he might mean Mr. Wazzo. Yeah, the dude, the puppet that just bangs its head. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, that one.
Fat beat.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, fantastic. Yes, he's corrected it now and said Wazzo. I thought we said Mr. Oslo, and I thought he was referring to THALREX, but I wasn't sure.
Mr. Oslo. Don't know if they have a Mr. Oslo competition.
Oh, it's got me going. Right, so now it's the opportunity, folks. I'll go around and I'll give you the opportunity just to tell the audience where they can find you online. And if you have any key dates or any releases coming up, mention those as well, because that's always useful. So I'm going to snake my way around. So I'll start with yourself, Tim, Aisle 9.
Yeah, right, so at Aisle 9 Music on Instagram and, at Aisle 9 Synthwave on Twitter, and then basically everywhere else it's at Aisle 9 Music. I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm a bit of an Instagram person, but you will also find all my music on Spotify and all the usual channels and Bandcamp. And I'm hoping that this track I will probably get out in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks. So I think this one's going to be finished soon, and that will be out. So look out for Eternal Overdrive coming to you soon.
Brilliant. I love the fact that when you mentioned that, Tim, I think there's a seagull at the same time as you mentioned it, squawking in the background. That was perfect.
Yeah,
that was perfect.
I timed it.
Backing you up.
I trained it all week.
Yeah.
And I said just at the end of my coming. Right on cue. Yeah. I've got a Simpty seagull, actually. He's literally synced with MIDI time code,
Oh, my days. Sub Neon, your turn.
Thank you. I'm available at my website. I'm available. You can find me at my website, which is subneon.net, and all of the Instagram and TikToks and Bandcamps and stuff are all on there. I don't really have any key dates apart from the end of the month. I'm supposed to be releasing a track, which is my own self-imposed timeline and release schedule. So I'm hoping a track called Night Runner will be released on or before the 31st of the month. So check it out. It's on Spotify. It will be on Spotify.
Brilliant. That's what we want. That's it. It's the growth mindset there, Subneon. Brilliant. Excellent stuff. I just want to do a shout out to Cyberdoll, who has left a comment. It's emojis, but I'll give them a shout out anyway. Fantastic. Blockhaus, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm Blockhaus Music on Twitter and Instagram, and it's spelled Blockhaus. I've also got a link tree which is just Blockhaus, so I've got links to SoundCloud and Bandcamp on there. I've got no releases planned at the moment. I've got various things sort of like on the go, but nothing's in a fit state to release in the next couple of months. But inspired by our discussion this evening, I'm going to get cracking on Sleepless in Glasgow, and if we can get that together, that will be my next release.
Fantastic. Excellent stuff. Look forward to it.
Cheers.
THALREX.
Yeah, so you can find all my music on Spotify, of course, and now all the other streaming platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram myself, at THALREX Music, and kind of on Facebook. I don't have anything in the pipeline just yet, but like any concrete dates. But I have I have around 6 tracks lined up. That's not yet finished. So hopefully soon.
Brilliant. I was going to say, you've released some fantastic stuff of late, so you're probably overdue a bit of a break. Put your feet up for a bit, THALREX. Give us a chance to release some as well.
You're too kind, mate.
Fantastic. And Ghost Georgie.
So I'm on Instagram at ghostgeorgie. Same with Twitter. I've got a link tree on my Instagram that's got the links to my Bandcamp, Spotify, and pretty much everything's just at ghostgeorgie. I'm working on a record, a 10-song record, but that's not going to be coming out until like probably the end of the year. I did have a song release on the 5th, so just the other day. That's on Bandcamp. It's a Bandcamp exclusive, and it's a kind of like a post-punk, goth rock, alternative kind of song. So that's kind of what I got cooking.
Cool.
Fantastic. As a Typo Negative fan, I'm a huge Typo Negative fan, so as soon as someone says goth rock or anything like that, I'm immediately like, nice. I need to go.
Yeah, it's
and
a
listen,
collab with Mirror of Haze.
Cool. I've never heard of Mirror of Haze, but I'll go and check it out. Folks, I will put all those links in the episode descriptions, as I always do. And I can't remember if we said this on air or off air, but we mentioned about YouTube and views, and hopefully we'll break double figures. And just during this part, we've got to 10. We've broken double figures. So,
Thank you, Jesus.
I just realised that cheering goes on for quite a while if I hadn't have stopped it. Just sit there in my own adulation. Fantastic, everyone. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. So folks listening, watching, whatever it is you're doing, if you want to be part of the Producers Pub, probably the easiest way to do it would be to find the Instagram for the podcast, Inside the Mix podcast, and click on the link in the description, and then it will take you to the links where you can sign up for the Producers Pub and come on here and share your music, give yourself a shout out as well, and meet some other fantastic artists, as I get the pleasure to do every 4 weeks. So fantastic, everyone. Thank you very much, and I'll leave you now to enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you.